Hello and welcome again to Danger Aware Animation Department. Today we are going to be working on the Villagers digital DNA, and we're creating an any character, and this is part 2. So let me show you my screen, and here we have the any yellow ant base character, and in the last video I worked on rigging the character up to work as a direct puppet where each of the parts are basically boned so that the character acts like a jointed character. That's the whole point of setting up all these bones here, is so that we have joints that we can manipulate to make the puppet come alive, pretty much. Alright? Then over here what we have are the controls. If you imagine this character as an actual puppet, this would be where the strings would connect on the control board, and you would hold it above the puppet to manipulate each part. In this case, I've put these string connections directly across from the parts of the body. So for the eyes, it's right here. For the head, tilt up and down here. For the head, turn here. Here we've got the mouth controls, and this is for the tongue inside the mouth, and this is for selecting the phonetics. Then we have the shifting of the arms here, go left and right around the torso, and then we've got the wing flaps here, and then we've got the legs left and right, and the abdomen left and right. So the abdomen left and right is the back end of the bug here. So it's a series of receding circles, segmented. And all of these need to be rigged today, where all of these were rigged before, but I made a couple of mistakes and I want to correct those now. The first is when I was binding the eyes, I bound the eyes to the center bone, and I didn't mean to do that. What I wanted to do was bind each eye to the bone that's in the center of the eye. So that's a simple fix. We're going to grab the right eye here, and we want it to be on that bone instead of the center bone. And then the left eye on that bone. And then I really didn't like the way the neck worked out. Yeah. The shoulders are moving with the neck, and as you see, it's way too much. And I was going to do it to the shoulders, but I'm going to be stretching the shoulders. And so when I stretch the shoulders, if I have those points associated with the shoulder, it'll stretch those points, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is add another bone. So just like I demonstrated how the wings work, if I turn the wings on so you can see them here, when I move this lever over here, this bone, the bones that work the wings are moving the wings, but they're not visible because they're controlled bones. So what I'm going to do is add another controlled bone, and we're going to do that right here at the neck. So I'm going to go into the bone layer. I'm going to add a bone, and I'm going to add it to this bone here. And so I'm going to go in and just stick it right here, and it doesn't need to be very tall, and I'm going to call this the shoulder shift. So there's that, and let's get it straight. It's not quite straight there. I'm holding shift now to get it straight. So there it is, and we need to remove its strength. We don't want that affecting our character. Now we're going to go to the chest, and now we're going to grab this bone, which is selected, and then eye, and we're going to grab all these points and bind those points to that little bone. Now, we're going to go back to that bone on the bone layer now that that's created there. And we're going to set some bone constraints on this bone. We're going to constraints, and we're not going to set constraints up here. We're not going to deal with kinematics. We're going to deal with the angle of this bone. We want this bone to move based on what the neck bone does. So we're going to select here the neck bone, which is, where did I put it? You've probably already found it, and I'm not seeing it, because it's what I'm looking for. There it is. Okay, so we've got the neck. So now, this bone cannot be moved manually. It will move based on what the neck does. So I don't want it to be 100%. That was the problem. We were getting too much motion. So we're going to go 10%, so that 10% of the neck motion is transferred to the shoulders. So now when we go to move the neck, the shoulders are moving, but only 1/10 as much as they were. And I think that looks a lot better than having it shift a whole bunch. So now we don't need to worry about this bone here. We can't move it because it's controlled by this bone. So we can show all bones and then hide controlled bones, and it disappears just like the wings. So now we've got the effect we want, but we don't have that bone in the way. We don't accidentally grab it. We don't think later, oh, what was that bone? It's out of the way, but it does its job. So there's that. So now I'm going to start doing actual actions for this character. And so I think we can increase the constraints on the neck now. I had reduced it because of the shoulders. So let's put it back to 45 and 45. And so let's see how that works, these shoulders. So see, yeah, that's much better. That was the effect I was after to begin with. And now we've got that based on how the neck moves. So this bone is constrained by the neck bone at 10%. So as the neck moves, so does the shoulders. So now, I've also added some pin bones on the finger extensions, and I'll explain those as I go because it's too complex to just explain here. So here we're going to go and start programming all of these levers. Now, besides these control levers here for the control panel, I've got these right here next to the hands, and that's because the hands are very complex, and generally if you're working on the hands, you're going to be zoomed in like this, and these bones are not going to be available to you. So I've added these bones here for the specificness of manipulating the hands. This one will rotate the wrist, and this one will do the interlacing of the fingers. So let's see here. We want to start with the fingers extension and retraction. So part of my hand layout has to do with retracting the fingers into the palm of the hand and then extending them again. So I'm going to go into, let's see here, we want to go on the left arm hand, and let's see, the palm, oh, that's the object in hand that's giving me the extra fuzz there. Alright, so I turned off the object in hand for the moment, and I'm going to turn off the forefinger and middle finger, so we're only looking at the pinky finger. And we're going to start by coming into the controls here, and you'll notice that each of them is extended to the size of the circle for that particular bone. And these are the 3 fingers for the hand, and the reason they're overlapping each other is because it's easier to rotate this hand where the thumb goes up and then the thumb goes down than to start here flat, or to start with the thumb up and then rotate it all the way down. It's just easier this way, believe me. So you can try it the other way, but it's hard. Anyway, we're going to come in and select that green bone there, and we're going to create an action for it. We need to be on the bone layer, and we need to be in the construction frame, and we need to create a new action for that particular bone. So that's our first action, is the left pinky finger stretch. So we create the action, and then we rotate the bone to its minimal position, because we've got constraints. It can only go so far. This is as far as it can go. Because I'm using minus 32 through 32 and 0 at the center, that gives us 65 positions on our timeline. So I'm going to zoom in on our timeline here, and we're going to go to 65, and then we're going to rotate this bone to the maximum position. So now we've got that bone where if we move along the timeline, that bone moves. So we don't need to do anything else with it. And the center is 33, and as you can see, it's back to where it originally was. And that's because we're using linear on our timeline. I have mine set to automatically use linear, but you could use all these other interpolations to make your actions occur with various delays. But I like the linear, so I know exactly what goes where. So we're going to start at 65, and at this point we want the finger extended, so we're going to go in and we're going to grab the beaver bone and grab this bone and hold shift, and we're going to grab the extension bone here, the tip. And then there's this pin bone here that we're not going to touch. So at this point we want to extend the fingers, so we're going to hit T on the keyboard. That lets us transform the bones, so you can see we can stretch or shrink them as we desire. The thing is, I don't like just being random with this, so we're going to go up here and we're going to set the exact scale to 125% of the normal length of the finger. Then when we get to 33 on the timeline, we want those to reset. As you can see, the scale is way off now. If we just hit this button though, it goes back to 100%. Then we need to go in to the palm of the hand when we're down at the minimal position. So at this point, we really want the bones flipped around to the other side. But before we do that, I want to finish working on scale. So at the point where it's rotated all the way to the inside, we want to go with 90%. And then the halfway point, which is 16, that's where the bone's actually going to flip, and we want it to be down to 10% at that point. And at 15, we also want it to be at 10%, so that the flipping doesn't look like also a transformation. So now we choose B for bone, and we grab just this one bone, and we go to 15, and at 15 we want to rotate that bone around, and if we hold shift we get it exactly where we need it, and as you can see, that is minus 180 degrees. So if we go to minus 1 or down to 1 here, and you can see it's rotating back around on its own, well, we can just change this to minus 180, and it puts it right back where we need it. And now that should stay lined up as the bone shrinks, and it comes to 15, and then at 16 we want it to flip the other way. So we're going to grab it, rotate it around, and holding shift, get it perfectly lined up, and then from here forward it should stay this direction as it extends. So we go past the reset point, and then we extend beyond that as well. So now we need to test to make sure that all that stretching and everything didn't distort how we act with the bone. So we're going to go back to the main line, and we're going to grab the manipulate bone tool, and we're going to bend that finger, and we're going to bend this finger, and we're going to look at our stroke here. We're looking for a very clean stroke. If you have your lines lined up properly, your strokes will rotate exactly where you want them, and it'll look good. So there we've got the finger rotating and looking good, and now we're going to stretch it and see if we lose our rotation. And as you can see, we did not. And the reason we didn't is because of that pin bone there. So I tried this before. In fact, if you look at my last character, the little red ant, when I was doing this part of the fingers, I had to go and set many different points to make it work right. And it was very inefficient, caused me a lot of singular, corrections. So what I've done instead is I added this pin bone to the tip of the base bone here. And then I bound this point at the tip here to that pin bone, so that this curve remains a half circle, a perfect half circle, no matter how long or how short the bone becomes. So as we reduce this, we can get it really short here. Whoops. Let's go into the animation layer where it works properly. So as we stretch this, we can turn on the pinky and see, oh yeah, that's still a perfect half circle. And then if we go back and manipulate the bone the other direction and go to where it's short, and we still look at the pinky, that round is still a perfect round, even though the tip of the finger is now shorter than the base of the finger. It still falls within the finger, and so it will still rotate perfectly on this half circle. And so that's that, adding this pin bone and binding that one point to that pin bone prevents me from having to go in and fix all along the timeline for those positions to be correct. So there we go. That's it for that finger. So now we're going to do the next finger. So we clear our animation. We select the middle bone for the middle finger. We need to be in the construction layer. Now we create a new action, and it's left middle finger stretch. Once the action's created, we rotate the bone all the way to the left for the minimum position. Then we go to the maximum position and rotate all the way to the right. Now we zoom in and grab that coral bone, because that's for the center, using B. Then we zoom out and grab the tip coral bone using Shift. So they're now both selected. Choosing T lets us transform the bone, and we know when we're forward we want to stretch to 125. And we press enter. When we get to 33, we want to reset. When we get to 16, we want to be 10. And at 15, we want to be 10. And then at 1, we want to be 90. And there we go. Then we come back to 15. We're going to go B for bone, grab this bone, and hold Shift and rotate it around. Go down to 1, and we can go up and change the number, or we can just rotate it around. And then at 16, we want to rotate it back, and that's it. We should be done. So we can exit out, and we can test extend center middle finger. Well, let's turn the middle finger on so we can see it. And we can reduce it and reverse it. So it's working, and we can rotate the part. As you can see, it still rotates where it should. And we can go back out here, and it's rotating where it should. All right, next finger. So we want to grab the forefinger bone, extension bone, create a new action. We're going to rotate that bone all the way into the left, jump to 65, rotate it all the way to the right. We're going to select the top bone here using B for bone, select that bone, hold shift, select the other bone, and then we're going to change their scale to 125. We want to reset at 33. Then we go to 16, where we want it to be 10%. Then 15, where we also want it to be 10%. And then at 1, where we want it to be 90%. Then we go back to 15. I guess we could have stayed at 1. And we grab B for bone, and we grab the base of the forefinger, hit T, and rotate it around. Hold shift to get it straight, go to 15, rotate it back around, go to 16, rotate it back to the original direction, and we're done. So that's the next finger. So we can quickly test it. Well, actually now we can test all 3 of them. So let's go into the timeline. We'll turn them all on. And we can extend that finger and bring it in. We can extend that finger and bring it in. And we can extend that finger and bring it in. We can bring the finger out, we can bend it. We can extend this finger to normal and bend it. And then extend this finger a little bit beyond normal and bend it. And they're almost all the same length. Not quite, but we could get them exactly the same length, just like this, by overlapping them until we got that. And then we bring the green down, and voila. Now we're back to normal almost. But we can extend them, we can bend them, we're good to go. Now we do the thumb, same thing. So we select the thumb extend bone, go to the construction layer, delete all the activity we've done, create a new action. Left thumb stretch. So much like the others, we rotate to the minimum position, jump to 65, go to the maximum, B for bone, grab the base, hold shift, grab the tip, grab T for transform, and extended, we want 125%. At 33, we're going to reset. And unlike the fingers, the thumb does not flip back and forth. So we're just going to shrink it a lot more as it gets to 1. So we're going to bring it down to 25%. So we've got the thumb bending out towards us, basically. And that should do it for the thumb. So now we manipulate the bone, shrink the thumb, extend the thumb, and the thumb also has the pin bone for the tip, And I'm not sure why it's going to an arrow there at that point. May have to contact Moho about that. But that is way back where you wouldn't bend the finger anyway. So I may put a constraint to keep it from going there, because it shouldn't bend that far back. Bend forward, but even that should have a constraint. So there we go. The thumb is ready to go. The fingers are ready to go. We're now ready to move on to the next step. And we can turn the targeting off. I don't think we need that any longer. So now we're going to move on to the next bone in the hand group, and that's going to be the wrist twist. So we're going to create an action for that. Alright, so now we've got the lowest position, and then we go to 65 and rotate it up to the highest position. So now what we want to do is make the hand look like it's rotating up so that the fingers are all spread as far wide as they can at the base. Alright, so with the lever up, the thumb will come up, and when the thumb comes up, the forefinger comes up. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to use B for bone and grab the forefinger base. And I want the control bone for shifting the length of the bone to go with it. So I'm going to hold shift and grab it as well. Then T for transform and move it straight up. And I want it to overlap the other finger about halfway. So right about there. Then I'm going to go in, grab the pinky finger, same way. Grab the base bone, hold shift. Grab the extension bone, hold T, and drag it down. Again, we want to go till we're about halfway over top of the middle finger there. So there's our fingers spread open. Now, I've already got a hand, a palm of the hand from the way it started, and so that's what I want to make the current palm of the hand look like. So I'm going to take this palm and stretch it. So I'm going to go grab everything, then hit T, and holding Alt, I'm going to stretch it until we're right in the middle. Now let's do the base of the hand at the wrist when we're matching the other one. So now I'm going to grab the points individually to match the outline of that palm. So hit T for transform and grab a single point, and we just want to go right in the center of the lines there. And as you can see, as I do the front one here, the back one is going back to where it belongs, or close to it anyway. So each one of these, we just want to set it in the center where we're matching, or really close to that other palm of the hand before. So I think that's good. Now we need these points to be in the middle of these fingers. So we're going to bring these forward like that. And we're going to use C for curve and soften that curve there in the center, so it looks more like the outer ones. We'll bring those out a little bit here. So now we can turn off palm 2, and yeah, let's since we're on curve, we're just going to reduce this curve a bit here, more like the palm 2 we had open. There we go. And looks like we can curve that in just a bit. So there's our palm of a hand. So now we can delete this second one because we don't need it. That took me out of my action, so I got to go back into my action. And we go back to 65. So here's our fingers extended and our palm out. Now we need to bring the thumb up to be at the edge of the palm. So we go back to the bone layer and we zoom in and grab B for bone, the base of the thumb, holding shift, the extend bone tool. Then we hit transform and shift and drag, and we just want to go until the top of the finger there, the top of the thumb, is just barely getting ready to cut in to the stroke on the palm. So when you see it cut into the stroke, back out one step, and that's where we want the thumb. So now we can go to 33, and we want to reset the palm to the way it was. So we grab everything, and it's an object, so we reset it. Then we go back to the bones and the bone layer here, and we grab all these bones. So B for bone, grab those, then shift, grab these, and this one, and this one. And then we're going to reset their position back to natural. So now from this point forward, we're rotating the hand upward. And you can see how the forefingers are going over the palm of the hand and over each other. So the little finger is behind the middle finger, and the forefinger is in front of the middle finger. And then the thumb is moving almost with the edge until it needs to separate. So it's working really nice. So now we're going to go the other direction. So going the other direction, we're going to jump down to 1. And at this point, we need to grab the bones for the forefinger. So we're going to zoom in here, grab the forefinger and shift its control bone, hit T, and then shift and drag it downward. And we're going to go halfway over the middle finger. And we're going to go in and we're going to grab the green pinky finger, B for bone, and then shift and grab the extension bone and hold shift, grab, and drag them upward. And again, we want to be about halfway over, lapping the center finger there on the stroke. So there's our fingers extended with the pinky up and the forefinger down. So now we need the thumb to be like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift the bones on the base of the thumb here, but we're going to do it at 32, because at 32 is where we want it to flip. At 33, we want it to be natural. So this bone here, and B for bone, this is the base bone for the thumb. And if I flip it along its central axis, if you can notice there's a dot, dot, dot through the center of the bone here. So when I flip this back and forth, the thumb will actually flip because of its tip orientation. All right? So right here we want it normal, but at 32, we want to flip it so that it's pointed down. And since the tip of it's pointed down, I think we should also grab this bone and flip it end for end and point it down as long as the thumb's pointing that direction. So then we go to 1, and you see they flipped back because we've only set it at this one position. So we're going to do it here as well. We're going to flip that bone end for end and flip this bone edge for edge. So now, because there's nothing between those two states, it should stay that way all the way through. And as you can see, it is. And you can also see that I did not reset the curves on my palm of the hand. So I'm going to hit T, grab all that, hit C, and then we're going to reset the curve to dot. So now, as I move, the hand expands, and then going back this way, it's not changing at all. So now we also need to rotate the palm. So as long as I've got it selected, we're going to go to it and flip it up and down. So you can see there is a difference. And again, we need to make sure that it is that way at 32. Yeah, there we go. So right there, we want to stretch, so we use Alt and drag this out, and we turn on, oh, I took out the palm. I should have left the other palm there because, well, let's just go here, and I'm going to just grab these points. Then I'm going to paste them at 1. So that makes it identical, but we want it flipped. So there. Now we come to here and we should reset. So we want to go here and it wants to be reset. And then at 33 it flips and then stretches open there. So there we go. Now we need to bring the thumb down. So we go into the bone layer again. Go here, B for bone, grab that base bone, hold shift, grab the stretch bone, hit T, and now drag them down while holding shift until we just start to cut into the stroke. So here's what I'm talking about. Right here, we're cutting into the stroke. So we want to be right there before it cuts into the stroke. So there is our hand in both directions. Whoops, something's not right there with the palm. So let's see. Let's flip it here. Let's see if that's it. That was it. Alright, so now the palm is working properly and our hand is rotating up and then rotating down. So this is done. Let's go back to the main line. And we can quickly test everything, make sure it all works together. So we rotate the hand. We can now bend the fingers. We can bend these fingers, this finger, and we can stretch the finger and bend it, and we can reduce the finger into the palm of the hand, just like that. So we can make a fist if we wanted to. Just like that. It's a little funky, but it's a cartoon, but we just bring this finger back like that. And now this one can be there, so this one would be there. Now we've got our hand and we can rotate it and it maintains its integrity. So now that we've got the wrist twist working, I need to go in and do where we can overlap the fingers as we desire on top of whatever object in hand we have. And speaking of object in hand, let's turn that on, and we need to include that in our wrist twist. So let's go back to the wrist twist, and we're going to start at 33 here. I'm going to grab the object in hand and hit T and just set it so that there's, well, just reset it actually. So we'll just hit reset. Then we're going to go to 65, the furthest position, and we're just going to stretch it. We're going to hold Alt and stretch the center out so that it looks like maybe a ruler. So we'll go to where we're just touching the bottom of this, the edge of our tools down here. And then we're going to go back to 1, and we want it to be flipped and going the other way. So I'm just going to drag the top down and across so that it goes down till it's touching the bottom. So basically we've got a ruler in the hand, and as it rotates, the ruler gets small, goes behind the thumb, flips around, and gets taller. So there we go. Our object in hand is rotating as well with the fingers. All right. So now we can go back to the main line. And now that we've got that rotation or wrist twist working, we can move on to the next bone, which is the finger interlace. In order to do the finger interlace, we need to import a chart that I use to lay that out. So we're going to go here to our target, and then we're going to add an image. And this image can be found here in our animation character development folder, and it's the 3-finger object hand. So it's a chart for how to lay out the fingers in the hand according to this bone. Now that chart's a little large, and we're also not in the construction layer, but there it's still there. So let's resize it here to something a little more reasonable. That wasn't it. Let's get this back to the correct size here. And there we go. And we'll just move it up over here. And just center it over top of the bone there. That's basically where I want it. So now we can see what we're doing with the hand as we're doing it. So here we are. We've got our chart ready. We need to go into the hand, and we need to go to depth sort and enable animated layer ordering, and then apply that. And that allows us to change the order of these layers that are within the hand, only within the hand and only under this action that we're going to create. So we're going to go to every ant here. We've got that bone selected. Let's clear all our animation from the timeline, and then we're going to create an action, and it's going to be left finger interface. And the first thing we do, of course, is rotate the bone to its minimal position, then jump to 65 and rotate it to its maximum position. And normally I'd start here and work the other direction, but this time we're going to go back to 1, and we're going to work left to right from my chart here. So under 1, this is how we want the fingers to appear on the layering. So we want the forefinger first, the middle finger, the pinky, then the thumb, then the object, then the palm. So that's not what we've got right now. So we're going to just rearrange this. So we want the palm first at the bottom, then the object, then the thumb, then the pinky, middle, and fore. So now we are laid out properly, and we can move on to number 3. So we're going to just use the keyboard and cursor twice to the right. And now we're going to change the pattern here to middle forefinger and then KTOP. So middle goes on top of the forefinger, and then K for pinky, then thumb, object, palm. Then we move 2 to the right. We're at 5. We now want the pinky on top, followed by the forefinger. Then the middle finger, then TOP. And as you can see, it's going to say TOP for the next 3 patterns as well. So the next one is going to be forefinger, pinky, middle. And from here, I've sped up the process so by 12 times. So this next 1.5 minutes really took me about 18 minutes to complete. So you can copy the chart here off the screen or create your own now that you've understood what I'm doing. And if you need help, put a comment below, ask questions. If you have suggestions, put it in the comments below, please. And help us. We are a public domain company. We are a public charity. So everything we're doing is public domain. These characters are yours as much as ours. So feel free to duplicate them, or if you like, you can request that we provide you a copy of them. So if you're interested, and if you'd like to help, we'd love people to come in and help us animate our cartoons. We need more people. We don't have enough people working on this that know what to do. So if you can help, help. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and spread the word about what we're doing, please. Visit dangeraware.org and help us change the paradigm of abuse awareness. And we're done. So now we can exit to the bone layer, exit to the main line, go into the animation frame 1 and manipulate all the parts. So we can rotate the hand, we can bring the fingers over top of the, or inside of the hand here. So it's not over top of, but inside of the hand. And we've got the thumb here. And we can interlace the fingers any way we want, simply by rotating this bone. And as you can see, I forgot to remove this line. This is in the palm of the hand, but when it flips to the back of the hand at 53, we want it to disappear. So we go back into the interlace. And I'm just going to turn the thumb off so we can see that line. Turn the object off so we can see that line. And go to 53. And go to the palm of the hand. Right there. And grab just that object with T. Grab. Then W for width. And at this point we want the width to be 0. You can see it's 100%. We're going to go to 0. Then we're going to back up one step to 52 and change it back to 100. So now it'll be visible all through the timeline until the palm of the hand flips. And now not only are we not seeing the line in the palm of the hand, but the palm is overlapping the fingers. Let's go back to the main line. Go back to the bone layer. And let's turn the object in the hand back on and the thumb back on. And so now we can interlace any finger pattern we want, including the back of the hand. And at this point, if you want to see the fingers interlacing, you have to overlap them like this. And now we can go through the final interlacing and overlapping the various fingers. So there we go. We've got the hand completed with each of the actions, and there's an object in the hand, and it rotates with the hand. So now we're going to go back to the main line. And I'm going to save as, and we're going to increase the number from 3 to 4. I should have done that at the beginning. There we go. So now we've preserved our 3, and now we're working on 4. So my little corrections with the eyes, those would have to be redone again. So you can see where you got this hand over here doing the wrong things. Let's go into the palm of that hand and reset that palm first of all, because it is wrong for sure. And oh, because we were here. Alright. Oh, because it's included here. That's why. Let's get rid of this. Ta-da. Okay. So now, I need to do the same thing I just did on that side to all of these parts. So I'm not going to talk anymore for a while. I'm just going to do the work. And if you've got a radio with music, you might want to turn that on while I go through all of this as quickly as I can. Completed the other hand, so you didn't have to sit through that. So we can get rid of the chart here, three-fingered hand. If we go to the construction layer. So you can see I've got the left hand and the right hand now completed. We want to get rid of these controlled bones for sure. We don't want to see those. So we're going to hide those. For now, we don't need to see the wings. So we'll get those hidden. The first thing we're going to work on is the abdomen left and right. And so this is the character's back end, basically. So we're going to create a new action, and it's abdomen left and right, and we're going to rotate the lever all the way to the left for our minimal position, jump to 65, and rotate to the right. So now the abdomen is the back end of the character here. And I think we can do all of this using bones. I don't think we need to go into any parts at all. Alright, so there's that, and I think that's probably fine. That's far enough. So now I'm just going to match the post-it notes. And now I'm going to reset all those bones. So 33, and then B for bone, and just grab all those bones and reset their position. And grab the last one I didn't have access to, and reset it. So now we're back to normal, and I'm just going to drag this across this way, and now go to 1, and simply start dragging bones to the left. there's not more than one there. Looks like I might have gotten more than one, but let's see. Nope, got them all. So now, character's abdomen goes left and right. Just like that. Alright, so now we're done with that action. And now we're going to do basically the same thing, but we're going to go abdomen up and down. Change the orientation of my post-it notes. And now we want to do abdomen up and down. We're going to create a new action. And we're going to rotate the arm down for the lowest position. And go to 65 and rotate it. So, I'm going to start with the rotate down because we can see it easily. And basically we don't want the bottom of the abdomen to come down lower than the floor where the feet are. So let's put the character where the feet will put the abdomen's maximum depth right there with the middle of the feet, the front feet. So now we've got to take each of these, well, let's move it up more where we get, the bigger we can work, the better. Alright, so now we've got that one, and I'm at 1, so I'm going to start moving items down. So we're going to go like this, and I think I'll just use that as my marker point, and just keep going down with each one until we've got it either too long or too short. That's it. So, you can go a little wider, I think, a little farther. Hold on, we're not getting all of them. That's the problem. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about there maybe, and 7. Okay, so not quite so much distance here. So it looks like it's not going to be an even distribution going up and down. So let's just jump it up, and we'll bring each of these to the about the same approximate distance past it that it currently is the other direction. So that goes up to there. Zoom in and see what I've done. So there we go. And at 33, of course, we want to reset all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab them. B for bone. And grab all of these bottom ones. And reset their position. And just like that, we can raise and lower our abdomen. Let's go back to the main line. Go into animation frame 1 and test it out. And in combination. So that works. This bone is for the legs up and down range. So we're going to create a new action. Now, let's start by rotating that bone all the way down, jumping to 65 and rotating it up. So now, when it's up, we're going to bring these legs here. So we're going to go B for bone, and shift, and grab, then T. And so up, we're going to move them up to be twice as high as they are currently. Then at 33, we're going to reset. And then at 1, we will bring them to almost the front ones. And that's it. We're done. So now we can move the character's back legs down to be even with the others, or go up to create more of a segmented character, especially when we bring the arms down. It'd be more like a charade. So now we're going to do the legs rotating around the base of the body. Now, just like the hands, we need to prepare the lower body to accept the rotation. So right now we can't change how the legs rotate around the abdomen, or the thorax, sorry. We can't control that because these are not set to sort during animation. So we go into here, go to depth sort, and enable animated layer order. Hit apply, and then OK. So now we can rotate these legs around by moving them in front of and behind the thorax. So the first thing we do is create a new action. So we go in the construction layer. And there we go. And it's going to be legs left and right. Alright, and we're going to rotate the bone all the way to the left for the minimal position. Go to 65. And rotate for the max. So now, when we're at the max to the right, these legs are going to come around such that this front leg here will go around behind the back, and this back leg is going to come around the front. So when they do that, we're going to be using the shoulders to adjust the differences. So, at this point, this leg will have gone in as far as it can, which we're going to say is 5%. Oops. And this one, at that point, will have gone around and come back. So it will have come out to here and come back, we'll say to right there. Well, that's 140, let's go 150. All right. So at 150, this is back behind the torso. Then this one is going to be pulled as far over as it can, or 5%. I did it again. And this one will have come over and around and be around in front and will be at 150, just like the other leg, the opposite side. Whoops. Not that big. There. So now at 33, everything's going to reset. So we're going to grab B for bone and shift and select, 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 and reset scale. Now, when it gets around to this side, this bone and this bone will be 5%. And this bone and this bone will be 150%. So now all we need to do is get them to rotate around the body proper. So we come down to the lower body, and at this point we want the right foreleg to be behind the thorax, and the left rear leg to be in front of the thorax. And then when it's back all the way to the right, we want the opposite. So, okay, so at 65, we want both left legs behind the thorax. We want the right legs in front. So, now as we travel the timeline, that wasn't supposed to jump like that. Let's see. So 65. All right, so 33 were reset. That means the forelegs in the front and the rear legs in the back. All right, and then at 48, this is where the legs are going around. Let's see, 48, we are going to stretch the bones. So 48, we want this bone to have carried the leg all the way to the edge. Just to get there, and then this one, the same thing. this one out, and just until we start seeing the stroke overlapping the white inside the leg there. Right there. So at this point, the legs are coming around. And then, okay, and at this point, this front left leg, so left foreleg, that needs to go behind the thorax. And the right rear leg comes in front of the thorax. And now that should continue on around. Wait. Left rear leg. Yeah, that should be behind. The right rear leg should be in front. So now both right legs are on the front of the character. There we go. Alright. And then, so at 33 everything resets. And then going this way, we don't want those changing yet. Alright, so now continue. Why is that changing? Alright, let's go to 16. And at 16 it should still be the way we wanted it. So both the forelegs in the front and both the rear legs in the back. Alright. And at this point, we would want this bone to have brought this leg to right there, and this bone to there. So, let's see, that should be in front. Why is it in front? Let's see here. There we go. Alright, so now from 15 on, it's behind, and those are in front. That's the way you want it. Alright, now, when it goes around behind, we need the legs in the back to be reversed from what they are. one needs to be on top. There we go. And continue on around. 265. So these legs can go that way and that way. So now, let's add a little movement to the thorax. So, not a lot. I'm just going to grab the thorax itself and grab this point at the center bottom. And as the character turns this way, 265, I'm just going to drag this, let's see. Okay. So we're going to go from the original of 0.591 to 391. Oops. 391. And then the opposite direction. We're going to go from 591 to 791. And so that gives us a little bit of action there. And let's add just a touch more. We'll go and push this outward while bringing this in. And then the opposite, we push this outward by bringing this in. Not too much. So now, yeah, it looks like the character is actually rotating their body. And that's it. We're done with that action. So the next thing we've got, we grab this bone and create an action. Or thorax up and down. So not just arms, but the arms and the thorax. Oops, already did. So we go into thorax up and down, and we rotate the bone all the way down. Jump to 65, and rotate it all the way up. So now this is easy. We're just going to take this bone here, and we're going to go to 125% for the up, and for the down, we're going to go to 50%. Let's see what that looks like. So that should work. And then at 33, we're going to just reset this bone to 100%. So we go into animation frame, and we can bring the character down and bring the character up, just like that. So with that, and we bringing up the legs, whoops, there we go. So we can make it look more like a regular six-legged ant. Okay, so next one is going to be the rotation around the upper body. So again, like the arms and like the lower body, we need to go into the construction frame and go to the upper body, go to depth sort and enable animated layer. So now we can rotate the arms around the upper body. And thorax left and right. There we go. Rotate that bone all the way to the minimal position. Jump to 65. Rotate it all the way to the right, to the max. So when the bone is all the way to the max, we're going to have this bone around the back side of the body, and so we'll bring that to 50%. And this bone in the front of the body is going to go to 5%. And at the opposite end of the scale, this one's going to be 50%. And this one will be 5. At 33, we know we're going to reset them. So let's do that. We're going to grab both the bones and hold shift. And then we're just going to reset their scale. And then at 48, this one we're going to stretch. I keep losing my mouse connection for some reason. Maybe my batteries are going dead. So we're going to stretch this one out. But I want, as this one comes out, I want this shoulder to come in. So I'm only going to go to right there, which is 155. Let's go 150. All right. And then we'll do the opposite at 16 for the other bone. This one, and this one will be 150. And so they're both in front up until here. And at 49, then we want the left arm to go behind the chest. Alright, and it'll stay there till 65. Then it comes around back to the front to 33, then over to 16, or at 15. Now we want the right arm to go behind the chest. There we go. So now, all the way back, it still needs to be behind. So and now we can test it. Let's see here at 16. Now I want the right arm back in front of the chest. There we go. So comes across. And then behind. Now of course we don't want it jumping like that, and I didn't intend for it to, but what we're going to do is go to that point where it is jumping. And now we're going to grab the chest, just move this point. Bring it to there. And then if they get to 65, we bring it over a little bit more. So let's see how that looks. And at 33, we want that reset. just about perfect. It's a little bit of a jump there, but then as it comes on around, it straightens up. So now we need to do the same for the other direction. So at 16 or 15 actually, we're going to want to have that point on the beard. Okay. So we're going to pick up this point. Shift, keep it straight. We're going to bring it right across to beyond the beard. And we're going to grab this point. And C. And we're going to bring that Bezier on over to about there. And as it goes on around, this still on the beard. And at 33, we want to reset. Curve and reset this curve. Okay, so rotates around, behind, rotates around in front. Let's go back to the main line, up to the bone layer, out to the animation frame. And let's get rid of all animation first. Alright, and now we can test the rotation around the body. And now we're going to start working on the mouth. Clear all animation, and we'll start with the bottom one here, which is frown and smile. So we're going to create a new action. Now we rotate the bone all the way to the left. Jump to 65, rotate it all the way to the right. When it's all the way to the right, it's going to be smiling largely. So we're going to go into the head, and into the mouth, and into the lips. And for a big smile with the lips, we're going to grab the 2 points on the end, corners of the lips, and hit T, and then we're going to drag those upward and make just a great big old smile. Let's keep it right about there, and then we're going to bring the middle one up just to the top of the teeth, like that. And we need to bring up those cheeks, so we're going to grab each cheek, holding shift, just drag it straight up until we hit that point. Just like that. And let's go ahead and rotate them just a little bit. Whoops. I want to get right on the edge here. So we're going to rotate it just there. do the other one. Just like that. And then of course at 33, we need to reset everything we've just done. So we're going to reset the cheek. So then we go to the other cheek and reset it. There we go. And then we go to the lips and select the whole thing and reset it. So now our mouth is back to neutral. And then we want to go to the deep frown. So we've got to grab these end ones again. Hit T and then drag them down a bit. So we've got a very big frown. And then we're going to bring down those cheeks. And of course we have to rotate the cheeks so that the curve is going downward. So there's our deep frown. Neutral. And a big smile. I don't know, maybe on the frown, yeah, let's bring the lip, the center of the lips down too. So go back to the lips, and we'll bring this down too. Yeah, that's nice. So there's our frown to smile. So now we exit out of that. Next bone is chin up and down. So to create an action. And we're going to rotate the bone to the lowest position. Go to 65 and rotate it to the max. For the maximum chin up and down, we're going to bring the jaw up. So we're going to go to the skull. And we're just going to grab these bottom parts here. So all these points here. And we're just going to drag them upward. And the amount we bring those up, we also need to bring the bottom teeth up. So we bring those up until they contact the other teeth. And looks like I have no gums there in that character, so that's fine for now. So now we go back to 33 and we reset the teeth. And then we go back to the skull and we reset the skull. Then we go to 1 and we want to bring it down about the same amount we went up. And the same with the teeth. We need the teeth to come down with the jaw in case the lips are open. So keeping the teeth selected, we can see that it's fairly smooth and even going up and down with the jaw. So there we go. There's our chin up and down. Let's save the character. And next bone. It's going to be lips width. How wide are the lips? Alright, so the next bone is lips width. Create action for that. And again, we're going to go to the lips. Alright, so we're going to grab the edges again. So G to grab, shift to grab the other one, hit T, and now for our minimal position, we're going to make it where it's small. So holding Alt, we're just going to shrink the lips together right to there. And then we need to bring the cheeks in. So we just grab holding Shift and bring it on over till it's where it belongs on the cheek, on the lips. And the other cheek the same way. Just like that. We go to 33. We can reset. Reset. And lips. Reset. And then we're going to go to 65. And we want them to get wider. So holding Alt. Just going to drag right there. And then we need to bring the cheeks out. So there's lips width. Just give it a quick test. Oh, forgot to do the control button, didn't I? So, and when it's small, all the way to the left. When it's large, all the way to the right. Go back to the main line. So we can test it. We can have the character opening their mouth wide or narrow, whispering, hello, or whistling. Or, hey, get over there. Alright, so now we're going to do lips open. So the first thing we do is rotate all the way to the down position. And jump to 65 and all the way up. So now we want the lips again, and all the way up we would want the bottom lip to come all the way up. So we're going to bring it with T to right there, and then the top lips would come down. And we just want to go to where it's closed all the way across. And then at the lower end, the lips are going to be open as far as they can. So open the top to there, and the bottom, and we'll go right to there. And of course at 33, we reset each of them. And we're done with the mouth. The lips anyway. So we can open the mouth, open the jaw, make the mouth wide, and frown or smile, and all the opposites. All right, so the next step is to complete the tongue controls here. So we've got the tongue tip that we're working on here. So what this is the tip of the tongue can be either square or pointed. And the other control will determine how wide it is. So on this one, we're just changing the curve on the tongue itself. So go here to tongue, and we're just grabbing the curve on both the top and bottom, actually. So we're going to go G to grab, and grab top and bottom, and hit curve. And at 65, we want the curve to be wide. So we're going to go like that. You can see how the tongue is looking squarish now. So we'll go just so that it starts to make it bulge outward. And then at the minimal position, we bring that curve in, which brings us to a point here actually. The only curve happening now is from the sides. And as we change the width of the tongue, this gives us the ability to do quite a bit. So we're done there. We're going to go out and back to the main bone layer. This one is the tongue left and right. We don't want to do that yet. We want to do tongue width. So that's the next action we create. And so we rotate all the way to the left, and we jump to 65 and rotate all the way to the right. So now we've got our range. So we now go down to the tongue again, and this time we're going to grab the sides. Now that shouldn't, oh, we didn't do a reset on the tongue tip. That's why the tongue looks wrong. So if you didn't notice, the tongue is still square. So I didn't reset at 33. So we're going to go to 33, and because we were working with the curve, we're going to reset the curve. And there we go. So now when we go back to the main line, it's normal. And then when we go into tongue width, it's normal. You want to make sure that you've created any actions that work on the same object to be released, otherwise you're going to have nothing but trouble. So now in tongue width, we've got our minimum and maximum, and now we're on the tongue. We're going to grab the other 2 points. So at the minimum position, which is where we're at because we exited the action and came back in, we're going to simply make it skinny. So we're going to hold the Alt key, which makes it work from the center of your object. And we're just going to drag inward till we've got a very thin tongue, just like that. Then we're going to go to 65, and we're going to do the opposite. And first, let's go to 33 and reset it, because that gives us a little wider target from there on, like that. And then we can go to 65, and now it's easy to grab exactly what I'm after. And just make it just wider than the teeth there, like that. So now we can have the tongue be very skinny or very fat, and very pointed or very square. So let's go back to the main line. Zoom out, look at the controls. So we're now going to go to this one, and we're going to go to the tongue left and right. It's going to reset everything back to normal for this. Alright, so now we're going to rotate all the way to the left for the minimal position. And then jump to 65. And all the way to the right. So the tongue is again our object, but instead of moving the object inside of its frame, I'm simply going to move its frame, its layer. let's go to the tongue. So here we're going to drag it all the way to where we're touching just that edge line of the body, of the face. I just chose it arbitrarily just now. No big deal why. So then we go back the other way, and it just gives me a point of reference that I can duplicate in both directions. And then at 33, of course, we're going to reset. And only the position. We don't need to reset the scale or anything like that. So there's our tongue left and right. So we're going to exit back to the main line and the bone layer. There we go. So now the tongue can move left and right. We can make it thick or thin, pointed or flat. And now we're going to do up and down. So again, we choose that. Go back to the construction layer. Create a new action. Tongue up and down. Rotate all the way down for our first position. Go to 65 and rotate it up. So now we go down to the tongue again, by the layer again, and we're just going to move it down. And we'll go right to there. And for up, all the way to there. Well, it doesn't need to go above the teeth because the teeth never move. The top teeth never move. So that's good there. And then at 33, we're going to reset. And voila, we should be done with the tongue. So we go to the bone layer. Animation frame 1. It's holding the shape we had before. And now we can move the tongue up and down, back and forth, change its shape, and it's everything about it. We can even make it into a perfect circle, looks like. Even though that's not what I had in mind. But yeah, we can create a circle out of it. There you go. So any shape from a circle to almost from a thin line oval to, let's see, a square. Yeah, we can even get a round cornered square. So there is the final tongue and mouth. Alright, I'm going to end the video here. Tune in next time when I take these levers, these bones, and we create a phonetic mouth control for doing lip syncing. And then we'll do the eyes, and we'll do the head turn and head tilt. And then next time after that, in part 4, we'll do all the digital DNA. Stay tuned and come back again, hit that like and hit subscribe, and visit dangeraware.org.
Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm, watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud, let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger,